And we're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Friday, November 21st. Yesterday, a 2-3 day, but the two victories that we had were great ones. 2+ money lines. I know, originally yesterday we had -105 for UCF. That game closed at about like plus 115-ish for the Knights. Regardless, though, 2 underdogs hit with UCF at the beginning of the day. Arizona State, finally, we got Hawaii, guys. Arizona State beat the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Rest of the picks, it is what it is. We had a rough day. It's sort of in the middle of the day. Mississippi State did not come through against K-State. Rice completely just let it go in the second half. It is what it is. We'll have a better day today, but again, 2 good hits yesterday. Let's build upon that here today. Folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, we're going to have our NBA best bets out as well. Also on the channel, college football predictions, over 4 hours of college football predictions, and our best bets will be out later today at noon. Also, NFL predictions were posted a couple days ago here on the channel, and on Greedo Plays MMA or UFC Fight Night Qatar. Full card predictions. Arman Sarukian takes on Dan Hooker in the main event, again from Doha, Qatar. We posted our best bets for that card as well yesterday also. Okay, we've got a lot of mid-majors today. I know there's some big-time games. We've got Purdue taking on Texas Tech in the Bahamas, obviously after Purdue's big victory yesterday against Memphis. We've got some other games, obviously that tournament that's going on in Kansas City, the one that K-State beat Mississippi State in yesterday. I'm looking at a lot of mid-majors today. I think that's where the best lines are at. So, again, we will get into the bigger games as we get onto the weekend and as Feast Week, officially gets going. I know technically this is Feast Week, but once we get on to, Wednesday, Tuesday, and when we're in Maui and whatnot, and the Players' Choice League or whatever the hell, Players' Choice Tournament, we'll have some big games then. Today, let's look at some mid-majors and let's try to find some good value. Kicking things off with the only power conference team we're picking today, or at least looking at today, and we're picking against them. We're picking against BC. We've done it before this season. I'm going to do it again. I think Boston College, I think it's no secret, Boston College is the worst team in the ACC. And by the way, this is our early game at 12:30 from the TD Arena in Charleston, South Carolina. This is part of the, let me get the tournament correct, the Shriners Children's Charleston Classic. It's the low country bracket here between Davidson and BC. So again, part of this, it's an annual thing over in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm going with the Wildcats here. Give me Davidson. I like this spot for Davidson. I know they play in the A-10. The A-10 is looked at kind of, as a bad conference in general. This season, though, hey, the A-10's been playing pretty well. I get it. They don't really schedule that tough, and they all kind of beat each other up once they get into conference play. Regardless, though, you've got a 4-0 Davidson team so far this season, winning their last 3 in closer games as of late. Played a competitive game where they beat the Charlotte 49ers. Played a competitive game against Bowling Green where they won 91-87, but a win is a win. And then a big victory over the Washington State Cougars 2 weeks ago, beating the Cougars 85-59. First victory was over Division II DeSales. This isn't as much about Davidson as it is we're picking against Boston College, but obviously if we're picking the Wildcats, gotta talk about their best players. The best player on this team and best scorer on this team is Hunter Adam. He's a junior from New Zealand, has played at Davidson all 3 years of his career. He's coming off the bench right now, but he is by far their most prominent scorer. There's a couple other guys. I think Nick Koval is going to be pretty good. He's one of their freshmen who's playing quite a bit of minutes, playing 26 minutes, scoring 12 points a game. Again, a lot of Davidson's best scorers come off the bench. Their best starter, I would say, is Parker Fredrickson, who played at Wake Forest last season. He's starting, only playing 23 minutes a night, but scoring 12 points a game. But again, Koval and Adam are the 2 best scorers on this team so far this year, and they both come off of the bench. For Boston College, again, the worst team in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I firmly believe that. This is a team that is struggling against low mid-major squads, and obviously the team that we're talking about is Central Connecticut. Yes, Boston College lost a game at home to the Central Connecticut Blue Devils out of the NEC. That, simply put, just can't happen. The same Central Connecticut team that went to Quinnipiac and lost 71-49 the game before they went to Boston. They went to Quinnipiac and lost 71-49, and they go into BC and beat Boston College 60-59. That just can't happen to you. You're an ACC school. What are we doing? Boston College is coming off back-to-back victories, though. Hold on. They went to Temple, picked up a huge win. In a dogfight, they went to Temple and won. And then the last game earlier this week, they beat the Hampton Pirates in a competitive action. Not that competitive of a game. Regardless, though, it was won by 11 points. Hampton, it never felt like Hampton was going to actually make a serious run and win that game. But BC kept them alive. I'll say that. I think Hampton was pretty much down 10 points or more in the entire second half, but made it seem a little bit competitive. Again, if you're BC, though, you're thinking you can beat a team like that by way more points than you actually did. Boston College so far this season is led in scoring by Donald Hand and Fred Payne. Hand's playing really well. Payne is playing well too. The rest of the team is just, oh man, there's not many scorers on this team is what I will get to. Donald Hand so far this year averaging 15 points per game. Obviously, he's been here all 4 years. Fred Payne in his sophomore season playing good basketball for Boston College. Was a bench player last year for the Eagles. Now he is starting. I can't rely on Boston College at all, man. Early spot in Charleston. I don't want to play, the home court or whatnot, because, we picked, well, you know what? Maybe I will, because yesterday we had UCF play not K-State. We had UCF win their early game, or I guess the 3 o'clock game for us yesterday, in a big spot against Pitt. And I did bring up, okay, that's way closer. It's a 45-ish. I found it was an hour drive from Orlando to Daytona Beach. And I was like, maybe home court advantage will play a factor. Well, it did, guys. If you watched that game, you heard the guy who was screaming the entire game behind the Pitt bench to distract Pittsburgh. It was absurd. And I was like, I thought it was a woman, overhearing, and I saw a video, obviously, after the game on Twitter confirming there was, it was just a dude sitting courtside. But, that was the biggest. Obviously we had UCF, and I was glad Buddy was being a nuisance to Pitt. He was sitting directly right behind the Pitt bench. If I was a coach at Pitt, if I was a player at Pitt, I would have slapped that dude across the face. But you know what? He helped us. I don't care. That's not a far trip for him. I guarantee you someone away from Pittsburgh wasn't going to come over and do that. Someone from Orlando, though, you're only an hour away, 45 minutes away. Bro decided he had to guarantee his bet cashed. So I got to give a lot of credit to that guy. And that's why, hey, home court might actually play out a little bit here. Now, I don't know how many people are going to show up for a Davidson versus BC game at 3:30 local time in South Carolina. However, Davidson's only 90-ish minutes away, if I'm not mistaken, from South Carolina. I've never been to South Carolina. I've been to North Carolina before. But regardless, I think Davidson will have a little bit of an edge there. And also, Boston College has just played bad basketball all year long. I'm taking Davidson here in this neutral site game at the Charleston, or the Children's Classic. What's the brand that's Shriners? The Shriners Children's Classic. Regardless, give me Davidson money line here. I think they get it done. We get them at plus money too, which I find a little absurd. So give me Davidson. Next up, we move on to a matchup in Colorado Springs, Colorado, as we've got SIUE going on the road to take on the Air Force. Absolutely, give me SIUE. I know they did not, do us a good one in the Indiana State game. They're at home against the Sycamores, and SIUE just forgot how to shoot a basketball. That's okay. They're playing a team that doesn't score. That being the Air Force Falcons. Air Force is 1-4 this season, losing to Belmont, Austin, PA, LIU, Miami of Ohio, and picking up a close victory the other day at home against the Alabama State Hornets, winning it 66-64. So good on Air Force for winning that basketball game, but SIUE, I believe, is the much better team. We've seen this team already go on the road twice and pick up huge victories. One at UTSA, where we again became accustomed to this SIUE team. We picked them to cover, I think it was 8.5 points in an early spot in San Antonio. They just didn't go to San Antonio and cover. No, they won the game by 17 points against the Roadrunners. That's why I said, you know what, we're going to capitalize. We're going to take them to beat the Sycamores of Indiana State at home. Didn't go our way, but then they came back after, and they went to Drake and won. Shocking, really. Drake is not the team they once were. They're 3-2 this season. They did come off a win on the road against Charleston in the last game, but yeah, this is not a very good Drake team compared to past seasons, and we knew it right away from the early game that they played on opening day when they were competitive with the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. Regardless, though, SIUE goes to Drake and wins. They don't play competitive at Wisconsin over in Madison, but that's not really a concern for me. Watching SIUE multiple times this season, I can tell you again, they have guys who can score and score in a hurry, and by far the best player on this team is Ring Malith. Ring Malith is very good. Okay, this is a senior from South Sudan who's averaging 15 points per game. Transferred to SIUE last year, played phenomenally for them, playing even better now in his senior year. Again, 6'9", he's a small forward at 6'9", which again, he's a big collegiate forward, and he moves really well. Also, Miles Thompson's playing well this season too. He operates more as the 4, even though he actually is an inch shorter than Ring Malik. But Miles Thompson plays under the basket more. He's averaging 7 rebounds a game and 11 points per game. Thompson's playing great basketball this season after playing in every game last year for the Cougars as well. For Air Force, this is one of the worst teams in the Mountain West, if not the worst team in the Mountain West. I think you're actually pretty hard-pressed to name a team that is worse than them. I think maybe you can say, oh, SJSU. I think San Jose State is better. I mean, I know San Jose State hasn't won a game yet this season. I guess time will only tell. But I do believe roster-wise, I think SJSU is better, even though they got destroyed by the transfer portal. Regardless, though, Air Force 1-4 this season, picking up a very close win in their last game over the Alabama State Hornets. It's a team led by Cam Sanders. Sanders is good. Freshman, obviously, we've spoken a little bit about the resemblance of him and Ethan Taylor. Ethan Taylor did literally everything for Air Force last season. It's not entirely the same with Cam Sanders because, again, last season, Taylor put on the backpack and really carried this basketball team. Anything they needed, they asked Ethan Taylor to do. Cam Sanders obviously much younger than Taylor when Taylor was in that role. Is their best player, is their best scorer, but you're going to get production elsewhere. You're going to get production out of Eli Robinson. You're going to get production out of their other forward and Lucas Hoban. There are players, and Caleb Walker too. There are players all around this Air Force team. The difference is, though, Cam Sanders is not Ethan Taylor, and that kind of limits what Air Force can do. Because, yeah, you have better, role players of sorts, kind of supporting cast guys, I guess, but your best player is nowhere near where your best player was last season, and that's a problem. Air Force struggles to score quite a bit. They've played some competitive games earlier in the season, and they haven't come out on top. Again, it's a 1-4 record. They opened the year at Belmont, lost by 16 points, lost by 20 points to Austin, PA on their own home court. Lost to LIU Brooklyn by 4 points at home. Played Miami of Ohio on their own home court, lost by 15. And then did get by Alabama State, which is a little bit surprising to me. And again, you had a big scoring night out of Lucas Hoban, freshman out of Katy, Texas. I can't rely on the Air Force, though. I cannot. And I know, again, SIUE has better scores. Ring Malik, guys, is going to be the best player on the court, and I don't even think it's very close. SIUE should be able to move in transition. They should be able to run in transition, and it should just be too much for the Falcons. Now, my only concern is this game is not being broadcasted, so we will not get a chance to actually watch this. And we picked against Air Force earlier in the season. We had LIU going out there and beating them, and they did. There was no way of watching that basketball game. We had... It was LIU, right? Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, it's Austin, PA. Excuse me. It was not LIU. We picked Austin, PA to go in there and beat them. And we had no way of watching that basketball game. It was, it was a mystery. We had Austin, PA, right? Or was it? Yeah, it was Austin, PA. Yeah, I believe. We picked against Air Force early this season. I'm, fairly confident it was Austin, PA. Or was it LIU? Regardless, this was one of those games. It might have been LIU. It might have been LIU. It was LIU because, it definitely was because we picked the same game last year. Regardless of all that, right? There's no way of watching these games. They're not on TV. They're not on the Mountain West app like the other Mountain West games. So you just kind of have to check your phone the entire game and watch the highlights after. A little concerned about that, but regardless, give me SIUE to win the game on the road against Air Force -140. The better athletes are on SIUE and the better players are on SIUE. So give me the Cougars. On to our third best bet of the video. We move again to another mid-major game. Let's go to the UNC Wilmington Seahawks once more. They go on the road to the Dedman Center over in Radford, Virginia. I believe UNC Wilmington will cover 4 points on the road. They are much better and levels better than the Radford Highlanders. I don't even think it's that close. Again, we talked about UNC Wilmington the other day. They were, 4.5, 3.5 point favorites at home, 5.5 point favorites against the ECU Pirates. Regardless of whatever single digit it was, that didn't matter. They beat ECU by 25 points. The game was not competitive. ECU had their moments early in the game, but when that second half happened, or came to, UNC Wilmington completely dominates the basketball game. Now, my only concern with this is UNC Wilmington's a much better team at home in Wilmington, North Carolina, than they are on the road. We saw that multiple times during CAA play last year. When teams went in to play the Seahawks on the road, they got dominated. UNC Wilmington, again, is not the same team on the road that they are at home. I understand, but they are still levels better than the Radford Highlanders. Trust me on this one. Radford, 4 straight L's. A somewhat competitive game against UNC, I will say that. Obviously, I'm talking about the Tar Heels. Radford goes down really, really big early, and they keep it within that 10-point striking distance. for the rest of the game. Regardless, though, obviously, North Carolina, the Tar Heels win the basketball game 89-74. Radford then turns that into a game against Wright State later that weekend. It's a neutral site game over in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. I've never heard of that city in my life. Regardless, though, why did I search up White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, and looks like a picture of the White House pops up? Regardless, Wright State goes up there and beats Radford at 92-59 in the Green Beer tip-off. And then you're guaranteed another game in that, little, tournament or whatnot. Radford goes and plays Cleveland State. They lose the game by 5 points. And then most recently, they went to Columbia, South Carolina on Tuesday and got completely beat down by South Carolina, losing a game by 29 points. I'm telling you, there are levels to this, and UNC Wilmington is just on a different level than the Big South's Radford. I'm not even going to get into the Big South because the Big South is confusing. It is it's High Point and then there's everybody else. We learned the hard way the other day with USC Upstate and their inability to shoot free throws. Again, it is a interesting conference. It's a conference that I do believe High Point will continue to dominate, even though the one time we picked High Point, they completely crapped the bed at home against UAB or on the road at UAB, but that's neither here or there. The Radford Highlanders, I just don't think are very good. Led by 2 players. They have 2 guys who can score. Everyone else is just We're talking about Dell Jones and Dennis Parker Jr. Dell Jones, 6'3", sophomore out of Arlington, Virginia, played at Clemson last year, didn't get that much run. Now he's here at Radford. Dennis Parker, another transfer, played at North Carolina State. Obviously went from Raleigh to now Radford, Virginia. He's averaging 15 a night. So you get 2 guys, getting 2 guards who will make up 30 points per night. Rest of the team really struggles to score. For UNC Wilmington, we know this team can put points up. I get their one road game this year. They did go to Kent, Ohio, and lose to the Kent State Golden Flashes. I will say this, though. Kent State is levels better than Radford. Kent State's a 5-1 team this season. They've beaten some really good squads. I know they haven't been on the road just yet, and they don't go on the road for a while until they come out west to play Portland, oddly enough. But Kent State's a really good team. I mean, we'll see if they win the MAC this season. They may. I know Akron's really good this year. Buffalo's playing well so far. Again, haven't really haven't really gone deep into MAC play yet this year, but I mean, Kent State was a good team last year who won multiple games on the road in the NIT. They went to St. Bonaventure and won. They went to Stanford, California, went to the Farm and won. So that's a good team, and I don't really put much into UNC Wilmington going on the road and losing that game. Again, Kent State's very talented. It was a game that Kent was favored by 4 points to win too, so I'm not too concerned about that. There are guys on this UNC Wilmington team, though. I mean, there are so many good scorers. This squad has 6 guys who average more than 10 points per game compared to, again, their opponents tonight in Radford, who just have 2 players who average more than 10. Obviously, both of them average 15 each. But man, the way better team is UNC Wilmington. Nolan Hodge, obviously the best player on the squad, averaging 16 points per game. We talked about Hodge a little bit in the last game. Obviously, he's been at UNC Wilmington this entire time. He's now a senior, but now really coming into his own. Patrick Wessler averages 13 points per game. Greedy Williams averages 13. Madison Durr averages 13. Christian May averages 12. And Nolan Ross averages 11 points. Again, it is a very good team all around. They have 6 guys who on any given night can score 15 or more points. And sure, it's been a lot of Hodge. It's been a lot of Nolan Hodge. Last game against ECU is Christian May, who led them in scoring. Senior player who just transferred in from Towson. But still, there are players everywhere on UNC Wilmington. They are a loaded bunch. We talked about them the other day being the best team in the CAA, and I don't even think it's very close. And I'm telling you, they are levels better than Radford, and they will absolutely show that tonight, Give me UNC Wilmington at -4 points here on the road to beat Radford. On now to our 4th best bet of the video. We move to Norfolk State and Hampton. I know this may be very low-level basketball, and you might be concerned actually picking this game or betting this game. We're still going with Norfolk State. Hear me out now. This is by far the best team in the MEAC, and I get it. I'm talking about a conference that has 2-3 Howard, 2-3 Norfolk State, 2-4 Delaware State, 2-4 Maryland Eastern Shore, who actually I got really close to taking today. They have a road game at Canisius, and I thought, I do think Maryland Eastern Shore is gonna win. I didn't have enough confidence in them to actually put it in the video because both those teams are really bad. Regardless, though, Norfolk State is the best team out of this MEAC bunch, and I get it. You may not think the highest of the MEAC, and that's fair. It's a conference that's better than the SWAC, I think. And last season, Norfolk State was head and shoulders better than everybody else in the conference. And I know, again, this is a low-level basketball game. Okay, I think Norfolk State last year, if last year's Norfolk State team played this year's Norfolk State team, Norfolk State last season would blow this team out. Norfolk State last year had some hoopers, the main two being Brian Moore, who's now at GCU and playing fairly decent basketball for Grand Canyon this year. Would have liked to see him stay at Norfolk personally and just be the guy, but whatever. Brian Moore and then Christian Ings, both those guys just hooped last year. Brian Moore, again, one of the best players in the MEAC last season. Actually, no. He was by far the best player in the MEAC conference last year, averaging 18 points per game for the Norfolk State Spartans. I got a chance to actually watch that team play at the Farm against Stanford, and they almost beat Stanford because Brian Moore dropped 25 points. Anyways, though, this team is worse this year. I'm not going to deny that. And it's a product of their results so far. They won their first two games against two Division II schools: Washington Adventist. Oh my goodness. And then Regents. Then they lost 3 games in a row, playing a competitive game against the CAA's William & Mary, going on the road and almost beating Old Dominion, losing by 3 points, and played a very oddly low-scoring game against the Townsend Tigers. And I know Townsend, again, is not nearly as good as they were last season. They were really good in the CAA last year, and they were just one of those squads just didn't want to see in the regular season, and they got into the conference tournament and lost in the second round to Delaware. Really weird stuff. They finished 16-2 in the conference. Norfolk State almost beat Townsend on the road. Well, kept a competitive game, I'll say. They lost by 10 points, but 51-41. If I can tell you anything about Norfolk State, they're going to play really good defensive basketball, and they have a couple scorers. Anthony McComb, the third, Devon Ellis, and Elijah Jameson are their best guys. McComb has somewhat taken over, I can say, that role of Brian Moore. 6'3" point guard out of Dayton, Ohio. This is a player who was at New Hampshire last season, averaged 13 points per game. Started his collegiate career over at Bowling Green, now playing at Norfolk, and again, averaging 15 points per night. McComb, the third, has been absolutely massive for Norfolk. I believe he led his team in scoring last game with 7 points, so there's that, but he will barely come off the court, plays the entire basketball game. Again, he's the Brian Moore replacement. Devon Ellis has been playing well. Senior forward, was at Valpo last year, was at Eastern Maryland Shore a couple seasons ago. He's averaging double digits along with Elijah Jameson, who is another senior. He's playing the 2 really from UNC Wilmington last year. Didn't get much run with the Seahawks, only played 4 games. Played a lot in Milwaukee a couple years ago. Again, that kind of just goes to show how deep UNC Wilmington is. If I'm not mistaken, Elijah Jameson had injuries last year. Regardless, though, at Norfolk now and playing very well off the bench. And he was coming off the bench, by the way, last year for for UNC Wilmington. Norfolk's better than Hampton, guys. We haven't even got into the CAA's Hampton Pirates, and I get it. CAA is really good. I mean, if you take the entire conference of the CAA and match them up against the entire conference of the MEAC and just take the all-star teams, obviously the CAA wins all the time. But the bottom-feeding teams in the CAA they're not the greatest. Hampton last year, from what I remember, again, I watched quite a bit of CAA ball. Hampton was not one of the teams I was specifically watching all the time. I remember they got eliminated in the conference tournament to UNC Wilmington. They were a very difficult home team. When they were on the road, they were absolutely atrocious. At home, Hampton would give even the top teams in the CAA a good test. On the road, though, they were really not that competitive. And obviously, again, it's college basketball and it's the mid-majors. Their best players are no longer on this team. But this year for Hampton, they have not been very good. They're 2-4. Their only victories are the Brown Bears on the road, which I'll give them that, and then Mid-Atlantic Christian, losing games though to Milwaukee, Virginia, Holy Cross, and Boston College. Played a competitive game against Holy Cross at a neutral site, but still ultimately lost to the Crusaders. It's a Hampton squad that, like Norfolk State, has trouble scoring sometimes, but they don't have that player like McComb who can just take over a basketball game. The two best scorers, for the Pirates are Xavier Long and Daniel Johnson. Long, a senior from Washington, D.C., is averaging a double-double right now, 12 and 11. Was at Hampton last year. Did start every game, was not the focal point of the offense at all, but did start every single game. Now he is the guy at Hampton. Their other leading scorer currently is Daniel Johnson, sophomore from Chicago, Illinois, averaging 11 points per game. Started in some of the games last season for the Pirates, as these two, if I'm not mistaken, are the only 2 returning starters from last year. I could be wrong. I don't have the Hampton starting lineup last year memorized, but I believe that to be the case. Jailkey Gaines Wyatt is now in the starting rotation, starting lineup. Started quite a bit last year in the SWAC over for Alcorn State. I think Norfolk wins. Norfolk's at home. I think Norfolk plays better defense, and I think Norfolk, again, they have a guy who can actually take over the game. And there's multiple guys. If I'm Hampton, I'm concerned of multiple guys on this Norfolk State team on top of already Anthony McComb, who's been very good this year. And I get it. Norfolk's still yet to beat a Division I school. Well, okay, they haven't played at home against a Division I school since the William & Mary game, and they played William & Mary very tight, okay? On paper, the better team is Norfolk State. Okay? Norfolk State's also at home. They are probably going to win the MEAC. And oh, by the way, I get it, different lineups and different rosters, but Hampton wasn't that bad last year. Norfolk last year went to Hampton and won 67-58 for a rare road victory for a MEAC team. I'm telling you, Norfolk State's just a little bit different than all these schools. Norfolk last year went to UC Davidson. I get it, the Aggies are not some juggernaut. They went to UCD and beat the Aggies by 21 points. It's a good team. It's a well-coached team. And I like Norfolk State to go out here. They did go to the tournament and lose, but hey, don't forget they covered against Florida as their head coach immediately went to the press conference after the game and said, I told y'all we weren't 36-point underdogs. They lost by 34. I didn't care. No, he said, I told you no, it wasn't 34. It was, sorry, my math's wrong here. He said, I told you we weren't 20, I think it was like 28. And they lost by 26. That's what it was. Regardless, shout out to Norfolk State. They were great to us last year all the way through the MEAC championship. They're going to be good to us here. Give me Norfolk State here at home to beat the Hampton Pirates, minus 120 on the money line. Closing the night over in Long Beach, California, over at the Pyramid. Over in Long Beach, California. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Long Beach State Pyramid. It's a real thing. And it's even more confusing when you just drive by it in person. You drive by in all fairness, not a very good part of town over in Long Beach, California, but Long Beach has its nice parts. Long Beach State isn't. Quick story. One time I was staying at an Airbnb in Long Beach, California, just because it's cheaper than Los Angeles and Orange County, and there was an active crime scene and multiple fatalities on the scene. Like a minute away from Long Beach State campus. It's not the best part of town. I don't know why I needed to mention that, but regardless, that's just the first thing that pops in my mind when I think about the Pyramid, because I remember seeing, 10 police cars, all the caution tape, and the pyramids in the backdrop. Regardless, I was just trying to get egg rolls at Jack in the Box. Anyways, Long Beach State sucks. And Long Beach State last year, all Devin Askew. He was the only player on this team. Askew would play the entire game. He'd score 30 points, and his team would still lose. LBSU was horrible. How did Devin Askew get another year of college, by the way? I haven't gotten a chance to talk about Devin Askew. The guy's been in college since 2019. How is he still playing? And he's at Nova now? I mean, bro went from Kentucky to Texas to Cal to Long Beach to Villanova. I mean, what? Regardless, people were telling Hunter Dickinson to go download, Indeed or LinkedIn. Wow. Anyways, obviously Askew to not stay at Long Beach State. I wonder why. They're not very good. They're even worse without him, obviously, because he did everything for them last season. It's been Petar Mastrovic, who's been their best player so far this season. He's averaging 28 minutes a game and 12 points. He played at Syracuse last year, didn't get much play time at Syracuse. But Long Beach State's a 1-4 team this season, losing at San Diego State by 30 points, losing at Fresno by 20 points, losing at Pacific and Stockton, California over in the 209 by 3 points, and losing to Illinois State on your own home court in the Pyramid by 2 points. Now, they just won their last game. They beat Division II Noble. It's no secret, I live in California. I've never heard of Noble in my life. Don't know what it is. Again, Mastrovic has been their best scorer. Gavin Sykes as well has scored quite a bit. Sykes is a freshman from Sacramento, averaging 10 points per game. Was held to 0 points in the first game against San Diego State, in which he only played 8 minutes. He's seen an expanded role since, and he's been making the best of it. Like the Radford UNC Wilmington game, and I get it, we're taking another road team here, but like that game, this one shouldn't be close. Montana State is levels better than Long Beach State. And you can look at Montana State on paper and say, oh, well, they're a 2-4 team. They haven't really looked too great this season. Look at their games, though, and look who they're playing. Their worst loss by far is the Denver game at home over in Bozeman, Montana. Denver beat them by 2 points in Montana. But all the other games the Bobcats have played, 6-point loss at Colorado, 9-point loss at Stanford, 4-point loss at Boise. You're going to take those. 2 wins this season have both been Division II schools, Northwest Indian, and then they played Noble too? Oh, it's a tournament? What? Montana State is coming off second out of a back-to-back. I didn't know they both played Noble. Why are they taking turns on Noble? Were they just invited Noble out there to lose to both of them? Noble College in Los Angeles? This is not real. In Buena Park, California? This is not a real place. Okay, so Long Beach and Montana State both invited Noble to play in Long Beach. What? Okay, you know what? Whatever. I guess this is the 3-way tournament championship between Montana State and Long Beach. What goes on sometimes in college basketball? In a pyramid, by the way. Anyways, I'm taking Montana State here. They are levels ahead of Long Beach. I'm not going to compare both their beatdowns against Noble. Montana State beat them though by 40. Long Beach beat them by 33. So whatever. I think Montana State's way better. Again, if anything from last year and really this year too, looking at rosters and how Long Beach State got worse from last season. Yes, they somehow got worse from last year. They shouldn't really be that competitive with Montana State. Montana State was a mid team in the Big Sky last year, but this is a team that has, this team has experience winning. A couple seasons ago, obviously, they made it to the NCAA tournament, lost in the first 4 to Grambling, but I think Montana State's the way better squad. Obviously, they're going to get overlooked all year long by their in-state rivals in the Montana Grizzlies. By far, obviously, Money Williams is the best player in the Big Sky. It's not even close. But Davian Brown and Patrick McMahon have been pretty good so far this season for the Bobcats. Davian Brown averaging 14 points per game from Pasadena, California. First year playing Division I basketball. He's been huge for them this season. And then there's Patrick McMahon as well. McMahon's averaging 14 points per game from Palmer, Alaska, has played at Montana State all 5 years. Obviously, now this is his 5th season. I like Montana State here. I know, again, they just played yesterday, but from what I've seen, Montana State has, they really limited their guys because they knew they were going to win that game, obviously, against, Noble. So they got a lot of their bench guys, a lot of run. Like a bunch of guys made their debuts yesterday for Montana State on the season. So they should be well rested going into this game. I just think they're so much better than Long Beach State. Long Beach State, again, it's just not a very good team. Masterovic takes over the Devin Askew role this year, and he's no Devin Askew. And I don't even think Askew's that great, but I mean, he was obviously head and shoulders better than everybody else on his team last season. And now, again, LBSU gets even worse in 2025 and 2026. So give me the Montana State Bobcats to go on the road and absolutely dominate the Long Beach State Beach. I mean, this program shot itself in the foot when they fired their coach, only for the school to end up winning the Big West tournament, going to the NCAA tournament, and they still kept the coach fired. And then the athletic director said he was the reason that they won, not the coach, because he motivated the coach and the team to keep winning games after he told their coach that he was going to be fired, and they ended up winning the Big West tournament. He's still coaching for the rest of the year. They ended up winning the Big West tournament, and the AD took, he said, I was the reason we did it. Yeah, I gave those guys motivation because I fired their coach. What? You go to the tournament in 24, and then last season they won 3 games in the Big West, 3 in 17 years. Oh, brother, didn't even qualify for the Big West tourney. Yeah, give me Montana State to beat the Beach. LBSU's not that good. Montana State -4 to close the night. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college basketball best bets here on November 21st. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.